Okay, I think we'll get started now and we can just add more people as they join. Good morning, everybody, and a really big warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us today as we look at getting ready for Key Stage 1. Just a couple of things before we get started. If you could just make sure your microphones are off for the presentation. And you are more than welcome to keep your cameras on, but just to let you know that we are recording the presentation as we will be sending it out afterwards. So if you'd rather have your cameras off, that's absolutely fine. We will take questions at the end, but if there are any burning questions that you think of as we go through the presentation, then do feel free to pop those in the chat. Okay, so for those of you who don't know already, my name is Amy Rowlings and I have been here at WEK for 8 years now. I've worked both in Year 6 and Year 2, and I have been head of year for both of those year groups. I'm absolutely delighted that next year I'll be head of phase, so I'll be looking after both Year 1 and Year 2, overseeing Key Stage 1.
Hi parents, lots of you may know me already, obviously lots of children that are in Year 1 now. My name's Mr. Beatree and I will be head of Year 1 next year. Predominantly I've mainly worked in Year 1. Next year will be my 8th year teaching Year 1, and I've been at WEK for 3 years. I'm so excited to be head of Year 1 next year and just continue focusing on our continuous provision.
Hi everybody, I'm Mrs. Vyas and I've also been at WEK for 8 years now. I'm currently head of Year 1 and many of you may already know me. And next year, very exciting, I'll be moving up with the children and I will be head of Year 2 next year.
Thank you so much, both of you. Okay, I'm just going to go through a couple of things first before I pass over to the heads of year. Starting with school timings. As you can see on here, drop off Monday to Friday, in fact. The drop off time is 7:15 to 7:45. Monday to Thursday, our pickup time is 3 o'clock, and then Friday there is a different time of 11:50 pickup time. You can see that our ECAs that run Tuesday to Thursday take place from 3:15 to 4:10. The times do differ slightly, as you can see higher up in primary school. So if you do have any children in Year 5 or 6 or in secondary, you can see those times there. They are staggered just to ease traffic and everything like that. It's really important that these timings, you ensure that your children are on time for school, and at the end of the day, we do aim for 100% attendance, but we do understand obviously that if your child is unwell, that may happen at times. But if you can just make sure you inform us of any absence before 7:30, so the school, the absence team and the class teacher are aware, that would be extremely helpful. Similarly, if your child is going to go on the bus next year, if there is a day perhaps where they aren't taking the bus, then please do contact us as early as possible so we can make arrangements for that. So ideally before 11 AM, class teachers need to be aware of any changes for pickup. Okay, the next couple of slides are, there's some example timetables for Year 1 and Year 2. There are some similarities, so I will point those out. And there are a couple of differences between the 2 year groups. So this shows just how broad and exciting our curriculum here is for Key Stage 1. You can see that we do have our phonics time every day, and that's the same for both Year 1 and Year 2. Mrs. Vyas will go through later what Read Write Inc is all about. That's the phonics scheme that we follow, so I won't go into detail about that right now. In terms of specialists, we do have, we're lucky enough to have a number of fantastic specialist teachers in the school here. So we do have Arabic, we have Islamic for those children who attend Islamic, music, PE, swimming, and that's both the same for year 1 and year 2. In terms of swimming, just so you know, the classes are mixed for year 1 and year 2. Obviously, the changing rooms are separate, but they do have mixed gender classes for swimming. There is time every week for our Key Stage 1 assembly, a wonderful time for us to celebrate all the learning that's been taking place. We have certificates every week for our high performance learners, our children who have been the big hitter of the week in terms of house points. So we have that slot for both year 1 and year 2 together. In terms of any differences, you can see here there is time for explore time for year 1. Miss Sabitri will go into that in more detail a bit later on in the presentation. And they also have performing arts, which is very exciting there. You can see once a week. I'll just show you now a sample timetable for year 2. There are a lot of similarities there, as I mentioned, with the specialists, with our phonics, but you will also see that there is French on this timetable here. And next year, we're delighted that for half of the year, they will be doing French, and for the other half, they will be doing Spanish as well. So a very exciting opportunity there for our year 2s. I'm going to hand over now to our heads of year, and they are going to go through the curriculum in a little bit more detail for you.
So in year 1, for our projects for change units, our first unit 1 in term 1 will be Animal Avengers. In term 2 will be We Are All Heroes, and in term 3 will be Weather Detectives. Now, what we will continue to do, we'll link these with our Sustainable Development Goals. I know this has been a big focus for the school this year, and obviously then we will incorporate this across the curriculum, so our English, Maths, Science, and then obviously all of our foundation subjects, so your art, DT, geography and history.
Okay, and in year 2, our unit 1 in term 1 will be Ocean Guardians, where we'll be looking at the SDG of life below water. Unit 2 in term 2 will be Out of This World, where we'll be focusing on affordable clean energy. And we'll be looking into more detail to do with the moon landings, looking at different astronauts over history. So that's an exciting topic. And our last topic is From Flames to Future, where we'll be looking at good health and well-being, and we'll be linking it to the Great Fire of London.
Okay, so lots of you may already know this, and I know that children that are coming up from FS2 will be really familiar with this, because this is how FS2 and FS1 have their curriculum. So we will be in year 1, and some parts of year 2, particularly term 1, we will follow a play-based learning approach. So what that will mean is we will still be doing our English, Maths, Science, all the curriculum subjects that we need to do, but it will mean that the children will have some time to explore and to kind of follow their interests as well. And obviously then we will link that with the national curriculum objectives. So it might mean that the children will have a lot more of a personalised learning experience. So it might mean that we will work with smaller groups, and so that it's a little bit more targeted for them. And we will be, at the moment, the current year 1s are used to this. This is how they've been all year, and it will be in term 1 that year 2 will also have some elements of this before then going into real structure.
Okay, so just about our phonics programme that we follow in a little bit more detail. It's called Read, Write, Ink, and many of you may be familiar with this already, as our FS children already follow this programme. and our year 1 children are fully immersed in it at the moment too. So basically it goes all the way through from FS into year 2. It's a structured, systematic programme that we follow, which gives the essential tools for the children to become proficient readers and confident writers. It looks into their vocabulary development, their comprehension skills, and mainly their reading fluency. So on the screen there, you can see that we have some colour bands. So it starts at the bottom from like the sound blending books, and we move through the colour bands all the way up to the grey colour. And on the side there, you can see that end of term expectations in year 1. So the expected level is green at the end of term 1. And we move through to term 3, the expected level is orange. And now obviously in year 2, we step that up further. So end of term 1, in year 2, the expected level would be the yellow band, and then end of term 3 would be the grey band. So the idea is by the time that they get to year 2, that they're fully off the programme for their transition into year 3. So each year group will assess the children quite regularly. It's usually every 6 to 8 weeks through the read write assessments, and we change the colour bands that the children are in regularly depending on their assessment. So for example, you might find out that your child is in the purple group. They'll receive a purple phonics book that comes home with them every night. We encourage the children to read that book every night because, again, repetition encourages that fluency for the children. And all the work that they do in class is based on that reading book. So the more they read it at home, the better it will help them in their reading and their writing in class. There's also another level after grey. So mainly this comes in year 2, and we call that the language and literacy programme, where they're completely off the read write ink programme, and we focus more on like larger chapter books, etc.
So obviously maths is a really important subject that we do study in year 1 and 2, and these kind of cover the core number skills that we focus on in term 1, 2 and 3. Now obviously all of these are linked with our national curriculum, and these are just things that we obviously continually practice, that retrieval practice. So these kinds of things you could also practice at home. It could be that maybe you're in the car on the way to school and you could practice those number bonds to 10, or we also have the website Numbots that we do use in Key Stage 1 that your child might also want to use to practice these different skills.
And again, for year 2 there, as Mr. Beatrice said, we follow the same, looking at the national curriculum and incorporating it into our maths lessons each day.
So in terms of preparing your child for year 1, now as a school we really do promote that love for reading. It's so important for your children to be reading 20 minutes a day if possible, even if it's them reading to you or you reading to them. It's a really, really important skill. So there is a list that we have provided, suggested reading list that you can follow, but also we will be obviously sending home the read write ink books with the children so that they can practice that with you at home. So the kinds of things that you can do from now until September will be practicing writing their numbers, making sure they're around the right way, writing the alphabet but saying the sound at the moment, and then we kind of encourage kind of middle of year 1 to the end of year 1 saying the name of the letter, and also there will be a little bit of information about the summer reading bingo. The children will be kind of thinking about that I think it's today actually in assembly, and that information will be sent
Okay, and also for the transition from year 1 to year 2, that is also vitally important. We obviously as a school prepare the children, they meet their new teacher, they'll come to their new class, we'll make sure that they transition perfectly, but also at home, we would like you to have that conversation about what's coming up in September. They will be meeting their new teacher, they might have new children in their class, and it's just having that open conversation with them so that they feel comfortable to come back to school in September after having so long off with their mummies and daddies at home. With year 2, obviously they're that slightly a bit older. We also encourage the 20 minutes of reading every day, but also if you can just encourage opportunities for real life experiences. We've given a few examples there. Wherever you are in the world, traveling over summer, there is always something that you can do with them, whether that's writing, cooking, shopping, just getting them involved in those real life opportunities. We also have many of the apps that Mr. Beatry mentioned then, such as Busy Things, Numbots. We'll also be sending home the summer reading bingo challenges for everybody. So please try and get involved with your children as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vyas and Mr. Beatry. I'm now just going to move on to talk a little bit about uniform. Those of you who already have children in the school, you will be fairly familiar with this, but those of you who are new and will be joining, it's really important that we have a little look at the uniform policy, because as a premium school, we do expect our children to come in dressed for success. And we do recognise it daily. You know, we're always on the lookout for children looking smart and ready to learn. They get very excited about our gold Dress for Success stickers that are shared every day with a student who is an excellent example of that Dress for Success. So we really encourage them to wear their uniform with pride. Consequently, we do ask that the policy is strictly adhered to. So you can see here on this slide, it sets out very clearly exactly what's expected. A guide will be coming out to you, and you can purchase this from any of the thread stores across Dubai, and they'll be extremely helpful in explaining to you what you need, what colour tie, what colour PE kit, because that corresponds with the house that they are in. Just one change I would like to point out is that we will no longer be having jumpers with hoods on for the children. So if you can just make sure when you do purchase any jumpers that they are the ones without hoods, but Threads should be aware of that as well. Something very important, and as a parent myself, something that I stick to is clearly labelling any pieces of uniform, not just their uniform, but also their lunch bags, their water bottles. Obviously, we encourage the children to look after all their things and keep them in their cubbies or their bags. But sometimes they can get left perhaps at a specialist or something like that. And it's extremely helpful if everything is clearly labelled with their name and their class. I'll just show you now what the PE uniform looks like and the uniform for swimming. As I mentioned, it does correspond to their house. If you are new to the school, you will be informed of their house when you join. On PE days, the children come in to school wearing their PE kit, and they remain in those for the day. If they have swimming period 1, we do encourage that they come in with their swimsuit underneath and everything that they need in their swim bag. Just while we're looking at the PE kit, I just want to just tell you the importance of the children bringing their hats as well. Very important for playtime, obviously in the warmer weather, but we encourage them to bring them every day, again clearly labelled with their names. And the last slide here for uniform, just to show you the bags that we expect the children to have. So you can see that there is a book bag that we recommend the children have for their library book, their phonics book, to keep those safe in. And then you can see here they do come in different sizes. The school bags, again, there are different colours here, which you can purchase at Threads. Again, it's really important that the policy is followed. We ask that there are no trolley bags or wheelie bags brought into school. They won't fit in their lockers, and in terms of health and safety, we expect all children to have a WEK bag. This information will be sent out, but if you want to take a photo of this, then please feel free to do so. But these are all the contact details for anyone that you may need in terms of STS, our school transport services, anything about the bus, the finance team, parent relations, medical team, attendance. As I mentioned earlier, they need to be informed of any absence, and our reception and registrar. So with regards to communication, we really value the importance of communication with yourselves. It's absolutely key that we work together in order for your children to have a successful year. So you can see here on the screen, we've got a number of ways in which we will communicate with you. So we can share what's happening in the classroom. Every week you will receive a newsletter, and within that letter there will be any notices about important dates, but also what the children have been learning in the class that week and then what's coming up. So you can talk to them about what they're doing and perhaps support them at home with any different areas of the curriculum. Our social media, as a parent, I'm sure you want to see what they're actually doing in class, and this is a fantastic way for you to do so. Our Instagram account, our Facebook and Twitter, they all have regular updates and photos of any events in school and in the classroom. If, however, you do not want your child to be on the school social media sites, then that's something, of course, that we would respect. And if you let us know, we'll make sure they aren't on there. We are contactable by email, and we do aim to get back to you within 24 hours. But please just bear in mind that during the day, teachers do put your children first, and obviously they will be teaching them, so they may not respond to email straight away. If there's something urgent that you need to get to the teacher, it's worth contacting the reception, perhaps a change for pickup, so that the message does get to them in time. Also, teachers will contact you by email to let you know how the children are getting on, perhaps to organise a meeting, and things like that. As you can see here, meetings as well. Every teacher has an open door policy. Like I mentioned, it's really important that we work together. So you can request a meeting if there's anything you'd like to discuss, or likewise, if the teacher would like to discuss anything further with you, then they may request a meeting either via phone or Zoom or face-to-face. Obviously, whichever preference you may have, depending on commitments that you have in the day. We, of course, have our formal reports that go home every term, so you can see how your child is getting on, but obviously there will be communication in between that time of how they're doing, but just in terms of a more formal report that goes. And we do have our student-led conferences and parent engagement sessions where we invite you in to exciting events taking place in the classroom and in the school. With regards to parent WhatsApp groups, they are absolutely fantastic for socialising and getting to know the parents in your class, and perhaps sometimes reminders of things that are taking place at school. I know I rely on mine sometimes. But I must just stress at this point that it's really, really important that you always contact the school if there's anything that you're concerned about or unsure about. Always go to your class teacher as first point of call. That is the end of our presentation this morning. I'm sure there's been some questions in the chat already that have been answered by the team, but if anybody does have any other questions, then do please feel free to pop those in there now, and we can have a look at those. Obviously, our email addresses were on the slide at the beginning, so I will send this out to you and share it with you. So if there's any questions that come to you afterwards, then please feel free to get in touch with us. As Mrs. Vice mentioned, we do have the Step Up Day. So existing children will move up to their new year group next week, next Thursday. Beforehand, you will get to know who their teacher is. You will get a teacher bio to read through, so you can get to know them a little bit more. And they will have the Step Up Day, as I mentioned, next week. We do invite new children in as well, and we do have a Meet the Team event that will happen during the first week or two back of the new academic year, where you'll get to meet the whole team from the year group and hear about things within that year group more specifically. I think most of the questions have been answered in the chat. Thank you, Miss Bradley, for all the ones you've been answering there as well. Excellent. I'd just like to say we are so excited to welcome you to Key Stage 1. Whether you're continuing your journey from year 1 to year 2 or you are new to Key Stage 1, we cannot wait to get to know you and get to know your children in the new academic year. Thank you ever so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.